Khamzat Chimaev is a new face in the UFC who came into the promotion with one of the biggest statements made by any newcomer. As an exciting prospect, Chimaev debuted against John Phillips and put on an absolute clinic, and walked away as the proud owner of one of only two 10-7 rounds ever scored in the UFC. If that wasn't enough of a statement, Chimaev set a UFC record for the fastest time to win 2 fights, finishing Rhys McKee in the first round just 10 days after his debut. If that wasn't enough, Chimaev set yet another record for the fastest 3 wins in UFC history by flatlining Gerald Meerschaert with the first punch he threw 66 days after his UFC debut. Not to mention, he beat Phillips and Meerschaert at middleweight while being a natural welterweight, and was booked to fight Demian Maia over a week before his fight with Meerschaert even happened. Even if you're someone who is generally skeptical of hype trains, it's hard not to hop on board. With dominant crushing victories in all of his fights, it's hard not to get behind the hype of Khamzat Boars Chimaev. In 3 UFC fights, Chimaev has only been hit by 2 strikes, with only 4 attempted strikes against him. Chimaev himself has landed 196 strikes in his 3 fights, with 192 of them being in the first 2 fights. Chimaev stands at 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. He is taller than the 5'11" and 6'1" welterweight and middleweight averages, and has a 2-inch longer reach than the welterweight average. If you've seen his fights, you know that he's an extremely strong wrestler and grappler, resembling Khabib Nurmagomedov in his total dominance with his ground control and ground and pound. He's a 2-division Swedish national freestyle wrestling champion and a European combat sambo champion, so it shouldn't come as a surprise. In his first 2 UFC bouts, Chimaev did not land a single strike on the feet and immediately took his opponents down for some good old-fashioned smashing. Chimaev employs a variety of skilled takedowns, with his most common one being a double leg, which he sets up with a strike to the head. It's one of the most basic wrestling setups, which he has refined to perfection. He also likes to employ the outside leg trip with double underhooks. Being a pressure fighter, Chimaev performs most of his offensive wrestling against the cage. He also expertly times his opponent's strikes to level change. Chimaev's grappling prowess doesn't just end with his takedowns though, that's just the start. He thrives off of his ground and pound. His favorite position is to be in mount with his opponent's wrist trapped with a Dagestani handcuff and using his free hand to rain down hooks and hammer fists. And that's where the vast majority of his ground and pound comes from. If he's found in any other position, he works himself back towards this position. While landing strikes from this position, he will occasionally threaten the rear naked choke, which he has 1 of, or the Bravo choke, which he has 2 of. The Bravo choke is also what he finished John Phillips with. We would like to say more about Chimaev's ground game, but his fights end so quickly and so dominantly that there's often not much more that he has to do. With a 100% finish rate, a total fight time of just over 30 minutes for 9 pro fights, and 6 first-round finishes, he does not take his time. Chimaev is no slouch on the feet though. He holds 1-punch knockout power in his right hand, and has dropped or knocked out multiple opponents on the feet, including his 14-second right hand cross knockout of Meerschaert. He pressures his opponents relentlessly from the very start of the round, and forces them to circle away from him towards his right hand, which he can time perfectly to split the guard of his opponents. Along with his right cross, he also has a strong right uppercut. Chimaev has a significant strikes landed per minute stat of 8.88 and a significant strikes absorbed per minute of 0.11, which are both the best in UFC history, but it should be noted that these stats are not officially counted as a record until a fighter has 5 UFC fights. He also has a striking accuracy of 72% and a striking defense of 50%. Although he's only had 3 UFC fights, if he continues fighting this way, he will very likely set a few more records throughout his career. The majority of his strikes comes from his ground and pound, which isn't just love taps like some other fighters. Each blow hurts, and you can definitely tell from the sound of the impacts. He landed 83 significant ground strikes in his first 2 UFC fights, with 1 leading to a TKO. Khamzat Chimaev is an exciting addition to the roster and has some of the highest potential we've seen out of a hype prospect in recent UFC history. At the time of this video, Khamzat is currently booked to fight grappling legend Demian Maia before the end of 2020 to set yet another record for the fastest 4 wins in UFC history, and if he wins, the sky's the limit for this monster. Thank you for watching our video. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for future content.